I like to visit breweries and I like to camp. So when I go to campgrounds, I look at the area around the campground. Find good beer. Please join us. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and the next time we're out, we might find some beers that you're gonna love. Arches National Park, go to Moab if you're there. There's 2 breweries there. One, Moab Brewing, and that's kind of the most popular. It was good. Food was good. Beer was good. I mean, I bought some of their beers and they were awesome. They are brewing good beer. But the experience was a real letdown. Proper Brewing Company, I'm going to tell you right now, Proper Brewing and Burger Company is what it's called. We didn't eat there. Can't speak for the food. However, I did see food coming out, and I wish we had eaten there instead of Moab because it looked fantastic. And I'm going to tell you, the place had just a cooler vibe about it. You know, you go in and you talk to a bartender there and they could answer questions about beer. There was actually a conversation to be had. There was a good, it was a much better experience. Their beer, similar to Moab. I mean, they were both good beers. I mean, you're in Moab, you've got 2 choices, Moab Brewing and Proper. I'm going to give Proper the edge. They're the better brewer. Utah, don't skip out on their beer scene just because the politicians and everybody else screws with the laws. Later start than I wanted to get, but here we're in Arches today. About to go on the Delicate Arch Trail. This one's off Wolf Ranch. Supposed to be some petroglyphs up here and some other things, so maybe some interesting stuff along the trail. So I think it's like 1.5 miles, so it's an in and out 3 miles, something like that. Let's go along. And one of my favorite things is actually some of these old buildings. If I can do it, you can. That's why I did it. Saying goodbye to Delicate Arch. We're gonna head back down. One part you kind of miss, you do get to kind of climb along this cliff side, I guess. It's not very high. Enough, I mean, you know, that stop at the end would probably be bad, but still pretty cool. As much as I felt like I was on a die going up, it felt so good to have just done that. So worth it. So, either on the hike up before you go up or on the way down. Personally, we decided to stop on the way down. That way it's kind of a gingerly stroll to finish out the hike, you know, and kind of finish getting stretched out. rather than prolong than going up. Plus, it saves some of the heat of the day on the climb. So, to me, my tip would be wait to do the petroglyphs on your way down. And on the way down, you'll take the very last incline and just take a right. There's a sign there that points the way. It's a really easy trail. Oh, you're good.
Okay, I don't know if I have anything in that. There it is.
So you're just absolutely not going to hike. There are a couple options. There's a couple viewpoints that you're supposed to be able to see the arch. We're going to do the lower. That's a delicate arch, by the way. There's your comparison. If you just don't want to do the hike, you can look at this underwhelming view. Because this is definitely not the same as being up on top. A lot of these little pull-offs in these towns too. This is a balanced rock, which is pretty impressive. When I turn this around, you'll see it. And the other view, you kind of see how far off center it was, but this one you can see the massiveness of it. So if you go to the balance rock, go around back. I'll try and zoom in as much as I can, but there's an arch right there and right around there. Just another angle. Oh, that's what it's called, but looks a lot like the mitten. Of course, there's another balanced rock way up on top of that. A little different view of the arch there, and then the other one over there. Probably the last arch we'll be filming for the day. Probably the last arch of the park will be Landscape Arch, which is one that's very thin and they think may be collapsing soon. So definitely want to check it out. If there's anything else along the way, I'll include you on that. So I will say this, Landscape, the hike so far, fairly flat. A lot of interesting stuff, lots of shade. So coming here in the afternoon, it's really, I don't know, I've seen a lot of people here in the morning, not a lot of people here in the afternoon. So it may be the time to come here. So when we pulled in at Devil's Garden, the parking lot here is not very full at all. When we left this morning from the campground, of course we drive through camping for Devil's Garden, and well, the trails were, I mean, absolutely crowded. You couldn't get a parking spot anywhere in the entire loop. So it's my assumption that people go to the very end of the park, which is Devil's Garden first, and then travel their way out. If you want to avoid that crowd, coming to Devil's Garden in the afternoon. You have sun in a few spots for the majority of the time. You're in the shade, some great views. I can only speak from what I've seen, but you couldn't go wrong there. I didn't get a whole lot of footage in the campground. And I wish I did. There's a few stills in here at the end. So kind of take a look and you'll see the campsite that we have. But I'm going to tell you, this may have been my favorite campground we've ever stayed at. There were no hookups, no water, no electric, but Devil's Garden Campground at this moment is probably the best camping I have done in the best campground I've ever stayed in. Place was beautiful. They had trails right there we could go through. It was just an experience. Truly dark. You know, you look up at the sky and see stars that you couldn't even imagine seeing here in Kentucky. It was phenomenal. And I don't know if it's going to be on this video, but there are some that we took some night sky, dark skies pictures that really blew our mind how good they looked. But yeah, so first video here, guys, is Arches National Park. This is our first of 4 of the big 5 that we visited last summer. We did not make it to Capitol Reef. Unfortunately, our planning and our energy level didn't quite match the day that we were supposed to go to Capitol Reef, but I really want to see it. And since I still have to go to the Grand Canyon, we'll probably go through there and just to go to Capitol Reef, and we'll just camp there.